Hi friends, Kevin Gourley here. I just wanted to take you through an example of making some edits to a photograph. Just got back from leading our Rocky Mountain photography workshop, the summer workshop. Came back with a ton of pictures. It's easy to be drawn to the most exciting photographs, the ones of wildlife and activity and when the lighting is great, but I just wanted to take you to one of the pictures that I might have skipped over when looking through my photographs in Lightroom. And just show you that even a picture that can look sort of bland, you really can do some things to recover the picture in Lightroom and make it more interesting. And really, you should consider that a part of your workflow. It's not just taking pictures with your camera to get perfect exposures in the camera, but ask yourself what I might do to the photograph after I get it on my computer to make it better. So if I take this photograph right here, it's kind of a hazy morning. These are the Never Summer Mountains on the west side of Rocky Mountain National Park. You can tell by the amount of snow on the mountains, and hey, this is July. You get a good idea why it's called the Never Summer Mountains. So if I hit the F key in Lightroom, we can see full screen. So there's the photograph. So remember that F key. That's a handy way to be able to jump to just see the picture only. I like to do that a lot of times just to get all the other clutter of the user interface of Lightroom out of the way so it's just me and the photograph. And you can click in the photograph and cause it to zoom in. And one thing to note is that when I zoom in, notice that that actually is kind of more interesting in some ways, just getting a closer view where you're not seeing all the mountains, but you're just seeing part of the mountains. They look more majestic, really huge because, hey, they are mountains. They're not hills. But I'm going to go jump back out here. So I'm in Adobe Lightroom, the Creative Cloud version, and I'm going to make that part of the window go away. And I'm going to go over to the Develop module and just show you a few things that I might do to this photograph to enhance it a bit. First of all, you're always going to have an issue with a certain amount of haze in mountain scenics, and all of the later versions of Lightroom have a dehaze feature. It's over on the right-hand side, kind of nestled down in a portion of the user interface that's surprising to me because they tucked the dehaze feature down here in the effects section in Lightroom. I think it should be with the other adjustments in the basics section, but they put it where they wanted to put it. So there's the dehaze slider. When you're using any of the tools in Lightroom and you don't know what one of those particular sliders do, well, just grab it and slide it all the way to the left, all the way to the right, and you see what it does. Sometimes I think the dehaze tool can be kind of cool in certain circumstances because it adds haze if you go in a negative direction, and it can make things look really foggy. But what I want to do in this case is I want to remove haze. So if I slide it to the right, see it starts bringing out more details. It's taking away the haze in the picture. I do note that when I zoom up here to the top, well, there's a nasty little thing there. That is sensor dust. So that's a little piece of dust on the sensor here, and there's another hint of one over here. So I'm going to use the spot removal tool up on the right hand side there. When I click on that, it brings out this tool here, and you see this little circular brush, and if I hit the right bracket key I can make it bigger, and so all I need to do is click on that spot, and it's going to use the heal option here, and it's going to grab an area and then copy the area over into here using the texture from over here, but blending in the colors here to hide that little dot. And then there's another one over there on the right, so I'm going to click on that, and it got rid of that one. And then down at the bottom there's a done button. Click on done, and so my sensor dust problem has gone away. So I'll zoom back out. So I just clicked on the picture here. So we've increased some contrast in here to make the dark forest more bold. The haze is less prominent in the picture. There's a backslash key that if you have not used that keystroke before while you're working in Lightroom in the Develop module, get to know it, because the backslash key toggles between the before and after on a photograph. So if I hit backslash, there was the original, and note in the upper right hand corner up here, it says before. So that's before, and hit backslash again, and it goes back to the after. So I can see what that modification did. Now I probably would want to go ahead and bring out some of the foreground detail more. So I'll go back up here to the basic section, and you have all these sliders right here. And I'd probably want to take the shadows and slide them up a bit to lighten up the shadows in the photograph. So that helps some. I pull it up even more. Now notice one thing about this, we're picking up an overall blue cast on the whole photograph. Well, a couple of ways we can deal with this. If we want to shift the whole colors of the photograph to get rid of some of the blue, we need to shift towards yellow direction. So that would be a white balance adjustment. That's one way to do this. That shifts all the colors. Another way to do that would be go down into the saturation section and pull down the blue slider to just make it less saturated blues. So let's try both approaches here. If I go to the white balance section up here, see it has this slider here, and when I slide to the right, see I'll slide it all the way so you can see it's more amber, more yellow there. Slide all the way left, it gets really blue. Wow, we don't want that. So sliding more to the right helps get rid of some of the blue there. I could slide it a little bit more to the right, like that. It gets rid of a little bit more of the blue. I could go down here to the saturation section and just look for the blue slider there and slide that to the left to take out a little bit more of the blue. See it now, it's lost some of that blue hint there. And in the presence portion of the basic section here, if I take the saturation up a little bit, that'll probably help it some too. And look what happens. When I slide the saturation up, the blue starts becoming more prominent again. Well, again, I could take the white balance a little bit more to the right, and I could take the blue slider a little bit to the left here in the saturation portion. Okay, that's looking pretty good. Hit the backslash key. See the before, after, before, after. One last thing I might want to do that is just bring out the sky a little bit more. So up here in Lightroom you have this graduated filter. When I click on that, it brings out a whole section of different options here. And these sliders are going to be set to whatever you have less use them as. And so what I like to do is just reset all of these to 0 and then pick what my new values will be for this graduated filter here. It also has a drop down where you can customize and set new drop down or new values for each one of these sliders. But I'm just going to double click on the word effect. When I double click on the word effect, all these get reset to 0. And now that I've done that, what I want to do is I want to enhance the colors in the sky and increase a value called the clarity setting. The clarity increases or decreases the contrast in the midtone range. So what I'll do is I'm defining what this graduated filter will be. So I'm going to increase the clarity and increase the saturation a little bit. In fact, I'm going to push the clarity up even more. And you're not seeing a difference yet because I haven't drawn the graduated filter onto here. But now that I've done that, the graduated filter, I'm going to take my cursor, move it up to the top up here, and then drag, and it's going to start drawing in a graduated filter into the sky. So it's gradually applying this effect on the top half of this. And then see, I can take these sliders here for clarity, see how it's affecting the sky, making the clouds more vivid or less vivid. So you can adjust to taste. I mean, everyone's going to come up with a different choice for what they think is the right thing to do. But if I want to enhance the clouds a bit more, I'd keep that clarity pushed more to the right. If I take the dehaze, that's going to really intensify those clouds even more, to the point of being a little bit wild, too much. So could back that off a little bit. And I could take the saturation up a little bit more if I wanted more color in the sky there. Wouldn't want it too far in there. So that's doing some effect on that. So there's the result of that. So if I hit the backslash key to see before, after, before, after. We see a dramatic change to this photograph. So it was a bit hazy. It's lost color contrast in this, but with just a few tweaks in Lightroom, you could jazz it up a bit. So that's just one photograph. I shot a bunch of photographs, and a lot of them had some better lighting, but I wanted to zero in on one that just would have been one I would have skipped over, just to show that you can bring new life even to some of your secondary photos. But keep that in mind also as you take pictures over time, and if you use Adobe Lightroom, you will become more proficient in using Lightroom. And in doing so, you may discover that when you go back to pictures you shot last year or the year before, pictures that you thought had no redeeming qualities, now suddenly, if you're more proficient in the tools provided in Lightroom, you can recover some of those photographs that might be a real keeper photograph where you thought it was a reject. So I'd be cautious on rejecting photographs too quickly when you go through your photos. Of course, if they're like terribly out of focus, motion blur because your shutter speed wasn't fast enough, those kinds of things, those are probably rejects. But if you got everything right as far as the sharpness and that aspect of it, these adjustments can help you a lot. So hope this helped. Thanks.